Hello everyone. So this is my second video after launching my YouTube channel. So in this video, we'll be discussing my question, my March 2022 attempt, and I'll compare that with the suggested solution. Now, just a brief background about this solution or this exercise. So in when I started writing SA2 exam, that was in December or November 2020. At that time, I failed by 1 mark, and I thought, okay, I'm very close to passing the exam, but it has not happened like that. In the last 2 years, I have failed it 4 times, and the last attempt I got only 32, meaning, and I'm assuming the cutoff would be 50, so I failed by 18 marks. That means that I have written something which is completely logical as per the examiner. Now, because I failed so many times, and this is also the lowest mark that I've got in SA2. Earlier, in all my earlier attempts, I've got marks which are more than 40, 41, 45, like that. But this time I have got 32. So that's why I thought of discussing this with one of my colleagues, and you can see Parul's name here. Parul has also cleared 14 papers, but Parul has not appeared for SA2 that many times as I have appeared. So there will be two-person who will be analyzing, like I'll be analyzing my own attempt versus what is given in suggested solution, and will be probably taking some comments and giving some marks and see how is it different, and probably try to figure out the reason why I have scored so less. And once I get to that root cause, I can use that to uh, understand or better my attempt in my next attempt. And also, I'd like to thank Parul for taking her time out and be in this call for maybe which will probably last for 90 minutes or something like that. So thanks, Parul.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll start without any wastage of time. So this is the suggested solution, and this is my attempt. Okay, so let's go to the question first. I think this is the question. So this is what the question read. You are the appointed actually working in a mid-sized firm. So mid-sized is not a big company. Mid-sized life insurance company. The company sells traditional non-participating saving product, protection product, both on retail and group platform through its multi-distribution channel. So product is non-participating saving protection. There is no participating product. The company has witnessed a surge in claim in the first half of the financial year 2022 from the second wave of COVID. So this is the practical scenario overall in all of India, also the world. The total claims received during the first half of the year is almost twice the claims received in the last fiscal year. So the first half of the year has almost got twice the claims that is received in the last 1 year. Like 6 months claim is more than last 1 year and has resulted in significant loss. Majority of the excess claims have come from group term life segment. So you have been requested by the board of directors to make a presentation on the COVID provision or reserve to be set aside at the end of September 2021 claims for expected claims. Outline the key points that you would cover in your presentation. So for the claim analysis, we have to do the claim analysis. Your response should cover analysis of claim experience, basis of estimation of the COVID provision, and underlying rationale. Basically, we have to do a claim experience, basis of estimation of COVID provision, underlying rationale. Now, the things that I'll probably highlight is mid-sized company in this question. It's a mid-sized company. The product itself, non-participating saving product, protection product. So there is no participating product, and it is selling product through this distribution channel, retail and group, through its multi-distribution channel. So retail and group is that's the distribution channel that is kind of explicitly mentioned. And the thing that it is twice the claim in first half is twice that in the last financial year. Majority of the claim has come from group term life segment. So I think these are the things that we are like. Parul, you have any other point you want to highlight? Parul?
Uh, these are the main points that you have highlighted. And apart from that, I think they're specifically looking for claims due to COVID pandemic because they are mentioned that from the second wave of COVID pandemic, the claims have almost doubled.
Claims have almost out, right? So let's see if I have covered those points. So I'll first see what I have written, and then we'll come back to the suggested solution. So the first point that I've written is claim experience analysis. So I've kind of structured it like that, claim experience analysis, and then I have written basis of estimation of COVID provision. So there is a spelling mistake there. Yeah, I think this is the and reserve methodology and capital. So I have structured it in three portions, or maybe the basis of estimation of COVID provision is the second portion in which there is an underlying rational assumption of basis. And okay, we'll see. Let's. So first is the claim experience analysis part. So I have written it as given that the surge in the claims in the first half, there is a surge in the claim in the first half, hence it makes sense to understand why the surge has been related to specific time of the year. Is it because of the ongoing surge in the new COVID variant, or is it because of some other reason which causes a delay in reporting claims and hence accumulation of claims? So somehow I have hinted towards IBNR. So is it because of that reason? So that is one point. To prove the role of distributors, okay, if there is a certain surge in claim, if the distributors ask the policyholder to wait, uh, it is also useful to identify age groups. If there are old age group, because COVID probably would hit is higher in the particular age group, as for example, those who are over 60 years of age. So once again, a point related to analysis of claim. Similarly, it also helps to group claims by location and distribution channel. Okay, fair point. It is also useful to determine fake claims out of the surge of claims. In order to understand this, one can look at the claims which are undergoing investigation. If a particular location or particular distribution channel is showing to raise more fake claims, then that distribution channel needs to be cautioned. Also, further scrutiny may be carried out for those claims related to those channels. This is related to kind of compliance. I mean, the claims can be compared with the claims of similar times in previous year to understand if this is a one-off case or instance of this have existed in the past. This may be a point which is not that strong, I think, because they have already given it's a COVID-related thing. So I think I could have skipped this point. One can also try to identify any logical reason for surge in claims, as example, removal of lockdown in particular areas, which can cause a surge in metros. Okay, once again, a location specific point, and which is a different point from the earlier. Earlier, it was a if particular area, the target market is located in a particular area, and this is a removal of restrictions. One also can try to identify any logical reason for surge in claims. That's for it. Okay, this is also important to once again a spelling mistake. The evaluation exclusion condition to understand if the claims are payable. Many claims may be excluded because of the exclusion clause. Okay. Finally, it is also advisable to do an industry analysis to see how the claim is happening in the competitors. It is also useful to understand the types of claims. There may be death claims or maybe health related claims. This will help the company understand pinpoint problematic. And there is also break of claims by business type, for example, protection service. So I think, Parul, one point that I've completely missed here is the that I mean it has been given that most of the claims are due to group, and I have in this 11 point I have kind of only touched that point somewhere here, but I have not focused on that point because that point was kind of specifically given that it is coming from the group, and I have not raised this question why it is coming from the group. So I think that is one of the, I mean, problem that I can see in this question.
Yeah. And apart from that, I think there's one more thing which we can ask, that whether it's the overall business that has grown due to which the claims have grown,
Hmm.
or it's just the existing business due to which we have the higher claims.
Right, fair point. So let me, I think maybe it's a good idea to write those. So right now we have not seen the suggested solution. So maybe yeah, so this is question 1.1. So it's my point was not focused related claims. Parul, do you think there is a point here which maybe, as I pointed out, point number six, probably it was not required. At any point you think that was not actually making any sense, and I've written that.
Oh, no, I think even point 6 we could have we still can mention it in towards the end.
Okay. Okay, so I think both of us are on the same page that I have not written any point which is completely like useless. So now let's see what is the solution for this. Okay. First point is significant claims are from GTL segment. So they have the weakness that I have seen in my answer, like whatever pointed out that they have targeted that group thing. So significant claims are point from group GTL segment, which is general in the nature of employee benefit. We should also see if there is a sudden surge in GTL claim in the namely in the last year or two. Some similar point have been made by me as well. I've just not focused on the GTL part. In E groups, there may be concentration of risk as well. It want to investigate if any employer high infection rate. So I think similar point related to location, but they have made it specific to the GT point. Aggregation may also happen in locations. So has this point is kind of covered by me. They have not given the removal of restriction or lockdown point, which I have covered. Company needs to segregate the claims which have occurred due to COVID claims and arising due to other reasons. So this point has been covered by me. Uh, However, due to underreporting or lower testing, it can be the case that claims are not tagged as COVID. I think this is, I mean, this point I don't think that is that relevant. It's just a follow-up point, but okay. Hence, a good comparison point to access impact of COVID could be expected claims that companies are anticipating so with experience best estimate basis. It's a fair point. That will be a fair idea. So a continuation of 7 and 8, while major COVID claims are identified from GTL for completeness, it is important to cover the claim expense all product categories. I think this is also one portion that I have not written that for all other product categories what is the case. But I have mentioned that whether it is coming from death claim or health related, so somehow it is related, but I have not kind of mentioned that. The analysis has to be done gross and net of reinsurance. So this point I have completely missed. I have not mentioned anything on reinsurance. And now the next from 11 points, it is related to the COVID provision. So you have seen the 10 points. I have written 11 points. So I think Parul, I have not written that badly. However, this GTL point, they have specifically focused on the GTL point, and I have not kind of focused on the GTL point. So I think that is the only they have I have mentioned everything there, but not mentioned the GTL part. Like I have given general point and they have given GTL related. Like they have linked those points with GTL, and I think that's the difference. Right?
Right.
Any
In
other point? Yeah.
writing pattern, one thing I noticed was their points were comparatively shorter, and your points were some of points were
Bigger.
bigger. So
Hmm.
that might be the reason to shorten the points.
Hmm. Hmm. Good point. So let me write it down there. Bigger points. Okay. Suggested. Okay, let's move to the next part. So basis of estimation of COVID provision, underlying rationale as per APS 7. So whenever I try to write an answer, I try to link it with the IRDA regulation because that is kind of expected in SA2. So that's what I have done. As per APS 7 ALSM regulation, the provision must be kept enough for under different adverse future solution maps added to the ensure sufficiency of reserves. These are general points. Actually, should be able to justify and quantify the level of reserves through under a range of future scenarios. However, the reserve should not be too large to strain the financial freedom. So that's the underlying rationale that I put assumption of basis. So I have structured it related to mortality. Now, whatever the things that are kind of impacted because the question has mentioned basis. And because of that word basis, I have put mortality. So the company, and I think these are, I don't need to go through each and every of this point. I think it's so what maybe let's go to the mortality one to understand what would be my thought process in writing this point. But the structure we can see that because of that word basis and underlying rationale has been taken from the IRDA regulations, which are the general points which should be covered. So I kind of mentioned that. But one thing I can see is that I have not mentioned anything specific to COVID. Once again, these are just general points, and these are obviously they're applicable to COVID, but it's not that it is specific to COVID only. I've mentioned it generally, and let's go to the one point for mortality. So the company needs to ensure it has sufficient, if there is surge in, needs to ensure if there is a surge in death claims. If there is a surge in death claims, and if there is a one-off for, if this is one-off or permanent, the surge is one-off, then the company needs to change its basis. Uh, if the surge is one-off, then the company needs to change it. This is a wrong statement. If the surge is one-off, then the company needs to change it. If the surge is permanent, then the company needs to, the company may need to change in model dimension. Okay, I have written need not change its basis. Okay, need not. Okay. Then this is the correct statement. Okay. That is a permanent, then it needs to change its monetary dimension. The company also needs to increase the MAT to provide extra prudence as per the regulation state over. This will lead to increase in legal requirement. It may be possible that the search is only for a particular age group and model rates only for that age group needs to increase, or maybe the model rates for a particular location or distribution channel needs to increase, which means that I've linked with my previous question. So I think what the way I would have structured this point is, so I've made point on modality, mobility, then reinsurance. So here I have covered the reinsurance part, which was probably missing in that analysis of claim section. But I think the portion that I've tried to cover is whether the mortality rate, like what would cause a permanent increase in basis, or what would not cause that increase in basis, and whether that is increasing the reserve requirement or that is reducing the reserve requirement. I think that's my thought process here. So, example here, lapse. The company need to revisit its lapse rate in order to account for selective lapses. It is likely that those who have lapsed their policy in the period of good health or gotten permanent. So this where I'm reflecting to selective lapses once again. Means the company is left with policyholders who are reasonably poor health. This will also lead to increase in MATs for mortality mobility. However, there is no change to the expected intervention, and this should depend on the policy distribution channel and target market. Once again, what I'm seeing is I've made comments which are relevant but which are not specifically related to COVID. And that is the weakness that I see in these answers.
Yes, so that I can also see throughout in this particular sub question.
Hmm.
So
So,
maybe you could have structured, like for example, for mortality, you could have structured that how many deaths were, say, due to COVID-related lung infection or pneumonia.
wait.
That might be relatable to the question.
I think that's why my marks have been cut here. Reinsurance labs, expense, reserve methodology. So let's come to the last section, which is the reserve methodology in capital. If the company determines the assumption changes permanent, then the reserve capital requirement will increase. However, given the search is not a case exceeding 99.95% of the confidence level, the payouts can be handled by using the capital for the said year. For the group business, the company may have to keep higher unearned premium to deficiency reserve, and the company may need to consider keeping higher level of incurred but not reported reserve. Okay, for the financial year and few of the year to follow. Okay. So I think these are the types of I mean, reserves that company is supposed to keep. So I think this is normally what an appointed actuary would do. So I think these 4 points are fair enough, and these are strong points. Okay, let's move to the question. So in order to the suggested solution suggests IBNR, right? In order to estimate the COVID position, the company need to separately analyze the following components. IBNR for COVID deaths of occurred till and expected future claims arising in the death. So I think I mentioned IBNR in the last step, which is uh, here. The company needs to consider high level of incurred but not reported reserve for the financial year, few of the years to follow. So I think I mentioned IBNR, but at last step. But what they have done is to mention the IBNR on the very first step. So as per the examiner, IBNR is very important. That should be at the top. Certain adjustment may need to be made by if A is of the opinion that claim reporting delay from COVID death is different, and then because so these are IBNR related points, another reference point. So once someone has, like here they have kind of elaborated on the IBNR part, And I think the difference between me and the examiner lies in the fact that I have not considered IBNR to be that important. I have just mentioned that they need to keep some IBNR, obviously, and they need to consider that IBNR because some of the claims will be late reported because there are health related claims. And what they have done is to focus specifically on the IBNR. Once again, they have kind of linked that to the GTL part. So that is a difference, probably difference in thought process or understanding. So they have elaborated the ones. If had I thought about kind of focusing on IBNR, then I could have written this point. So I think that part is completely somehow separate. And yeah, one once the company is reporting this, so this is all delay related points. Maybe uh, had I written it, I would probably written first 3 or 4 points because I think the rest of the points are kind of repetitive. So maybe yeah, that's it. And next, let's move on to the next portion. The next component of the provision is the expected claim from the new infection or deaths. Do this, the company need to study the COVID claims trend vis-a-vis the world trend. They need to further analyze the geography states. So once again, these points. So these are the points I think which are repeated in the analysis of claims. So I mean, they say that they don't want us to repeat points, but they themselves in the suggested solution are kind of repeating it. Some international some international trends curves may be used to uh, project progression of disease, such as September 21 overall peak where company should be. So they've compared with the overall industry before the country was they may want to validate the COVID claims trend first, so that observed in India and various state. They may further analyze and estimate provision based basis is age and product mix. Once again, they have kind of. So I think, Parul, don't you think that they are repeating those points
Um,
in the analysis part, like here,
And
also the vision?
earlier they were mentioning about these things, and now they are mentioning about uh, how this will impact. So that might be one of the reasons.
Okay. And then foreign condition with a pure foreign condition and no claim will be set aside. I think I specifically think if I would have linked my answer to the COVID part, then my answer is probably better than the way they have kind of structured it. Uh, but because I mean they are kind of repeating on the same points, and I mean yeah. What is your opinion for it?
Yeah, I have the similar opinion because I think the points that they have mentioned, or most of the points have already been covered in your solution as well.
Hmm. It's just that I have not linked it to the COVID part or maybe the GTL part because they in this entire question they have kind of linked it to GTL, right? So and to the COVID. So I think one of the key takeaway from this is whatever point is kind of highlighted in the question, you have to ensure that that is kind of pushed through the examiner's throat, basically that they can see those point everywhere in the answer because that's how they have kind of given the answer. Because otherwise, I don't think I have written in the overall philosophy while deciding on the claim provision, overall mat present in the valuation assumption. So these are the points that I have mentioned. Here they have specifically mentioned about the judgment, and I have mentioned in the overall rationale uh, that and actually the reserve level should not be so high that it should impact. Like I think I yeah here I have mentioned something. Reserve should not be too large to strain the financial freedom. Also, it should be small enough. So here I have alluded to the judgment part, right? That this is how the opponent actually should set it, and they have kind of mentioned it as the judgment while setting aside the provision. So I think, I mean, there is like the answers is come kind of in similar structure, and I have probably structured it slightly better, but I have just not linked it to COVID and GTS. You have any other comments, Paul?
No, I think the similar comments that we have.
Okay,
The main
so
point is linking it to the question.
linking the question. Okay, so out of 14, Parul, how much you do give me? And then I also give some marks to me. So this is a
Uh,
14 marks question. Yeah.
6.
6. Okay, so I was thinking of 7. So Parul 6. So now we'll move on to question 1, 2. Okay. Now that we have some idea, we'll probably can move slightly faster. So as a result of surge in claims, and also this was a 14 marks question, so 4 marks question will be slightly faster. So as a result in surge in claims, the solvency position of the company has dropped from 200% in March 2021 to 160%. List the various measures the company may undertake to improve the solvency position. Solvency, how can we improve the solvency position? So I think just by reading this question, I think my thought process would be based on the fact that can change the solvency. Now, solvency position is basically a ratio of ASM, that is available solvency margin, and required solvency margin. So I will try measures which will either increase the numerator, which is the available solvency margin, or reduce the denominator, which is the required solvency margin. So that would be my thought process, because just by reading the question, I that kind of clicked in my mind, and I think I would probably have written the answer in same manner. So let's see. It is a 4 mark question, so I have given 8 points. So let's see if those 8 points are separate. So I think I defined, it is my habit to kind of link it to the regulation. So in India, the solvency capital is based on factor-based approach, which is determined by Form KT of the ARA regulation. That's okay. Here the factor would be sum at risk and reserve. This would reduce the solvency capital. Thus, to reduce the solvency capital, the company may try to reduce the reserve. Obviously, now here I'm trying to kind of reduce the denominator. So that same approach that I'm following, if it is not too prudent, the company may also try reduce writing new business. Once again, I'm trying to reduce the denominator. The company may change the asset which is supporting the solvency capital, as for example, to start investing corporate bonds. So here I'm trying to increase the numerator. The company may alter the product design. As for example, single premium product will require higher reserves, and the company may stop writing such products. It may require start writing products with lower reserve or capital requirements. Once again, I'm start trying to reduce the denominator. The company may reduce the option and guarantees, reducing the denominator. The company may examine the taxes that are charged on the solvency capital cash flows. Okay, we are once again reducing the denominator. So I think all these points are fair points, and they are separate as well. So finally, the company may try to control the investment expense and the transaction cost. Yeah, I think I made pretty solid points. Parul, do you have any comment on this?
No, I think
Anything?
almost all the points are covered.
Yeah, yeah.
Apart from this, I could only think about one about underwriting or say the fee cover limit,
Underwriting versus.
maybe reducing the fee cover limit so that they can have better solvency, or increasing the underwriting. Although it's a group product, so it might be possible they are not underwriting it above a specific limit,
Let's
or say underwriting below a specific limit. Sorry.
Okay. So let's so there is a separate point on underwriting versus pre-cover limits. Let's see if that is covered in the. So I don't have any comment. I think had I been writing the answer right now, I would have written the same point. So
Yeah, I think all the points that I could think of have already been covered.
let's go to the suggested solution. Restrict or limit new business sale. Point been covered. They differ one-time additional capital expenditure. This is an extra point that I have not thought of. Raise subdebts or capital to support solvency. Once again, an additional point that I have not thought of. Internal source of capital, relook at the prudence. So this point has been covered. Like when I mentioned, if there is extra prudence in the reserve, reduce it. Modify business mix or change the product. So this has been covered. Modify asset mix. Once again, point has been covered. Reevaluate the need for reinsurance arrangement so the business lower capital requirement. So I have not thought of this point, reinsurance. So there are 3 points that I can see right now. First is the capital. Second is capital related capital expenditure. Second is to ask the shareholder to pump in capital. And then there is reinsurance. Three additional points. Restrict NB and GTF temporarily, selectively go. So I have mentioned this point, but I have not linked it to GTF. Right, and they have once again linked it to GTF, and company may propose explore financial reinsurance arrangement. So I have also the reinsurance. I think this is a valid point. This point is kind of a generalist point, but in any case, So there are a couple of points which are different here. I mean, so okay, but and the important point portion is once again they have kind of linked it here, right? So this is. Parul, I think how much will you score me here, and any other comment?
See,
Three. I think I will also give myself three. Okay, moving on to the next question. So, list the various criteria required by IRDA regulation for subordinate debt. This is a regulation-based question. So, so this is either you memorize it or you don't remember. Okay. So this is what I've written. Subordinate debts for the purpose of IDA forms for regulation would be subordinate debts. Indian Companies Act 2015. The claims of the subordinate debts will be before the preference shareholder and equity shareholder. However, it would be after the claim of the policyholders and debtors. It should be debtors. The insurance company cannot do anything which will add to the security of the subordinate debts that will raise its seniority. Okay, so seniority of the claim